Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, when you look at things which we know that are unjust, like corruption, conflict, hypocrisy, and what we call inequality, here, when you look at these forms of injustices that occur in our societies around the world, respective where we are, these are common traits that always happen in the lives of us, we as human beings. We face such challenges. But now, when you look around the environments we're in, there is what you call the concept of injustice here, whereby we see that injustice has become normal. It has become a truth sound rebellion. It's like the order of the day. It's no longer something people feel shy of. It's just the daily stuff of the day or like a daily bread. Because look at this. And when you talk about mercy or love and care, it's mistaken for weakness. It's taken as something for granted. It's like, how can we survive in such a lifestyle of having mercy? We have to go with the times as the rhetoric has been shifted to. But now, when you see here, the Quran reminds us, it reminds us that power is not the right to rule, it's the burden to be just. When someone has power, when you have power, the burden comes of what you call being just, irrespective of our position, starting right from home, being the head of the household to the parish level, community level, national level, international level. Why? Because you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, He says, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands justice and excellence. Subhanallah. When you look at those two ideas here, justice, meaning fair treatment, giving what is due. And when you look at excellence, excellence comes with what we call improving. You improve yourself, you refine yourself through behavior to attain that level of what you call excellence. It's not just coming abruptly. No, it takes time. It's a build up. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, justice and what we call excellence being combined. Allah starting with justice and then following it with excellence. As you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are not just being used anyhow. There is always wisdom behind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using what you call the precision here in the ayah. Because when you look at this, we have to notice how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places adl before ihsan. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starting with justice and ihsan comes after it? Why? Because before you can be good, you must first have what you call the fairness, the character of what? Showing fairness. If you want to be good, if you claim that you're good, you have to embrace in you, into yourself, in your nafs, the character of being what? Fair. Because justice is the minimum requirement of faith and not its luxury. Yes, what I mean here is that justice being the minimum required for you, having faith is showing what is required, what is due, giving the rights, placing something into its right position. Because here the Quran makes it clear, open, that worship without justice is what you call hypocrisy. I cannot claim myself to be praying 5 times a day when I'm not helping my mom. I'm a leader, but I'm not doing what is required. But I'm praying 5 times a day. I fast in Ramadan. That is hypocrisy. What's the purpose of you doing those things when you lack that character of being just? Because even here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawamina bil qisti. شهداء الله ولو على أنفسكم. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Nisa, ayah 135, that all believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling, all you believers, all those who have attained faith, stand firmly for justice. Be supportive of it, in other words, even against yourselves. Even against yourselves. Allah is highlighting to what we call the nafs. Your nafs can be there telling you something, but when you see that, no, this is justice, it has to be served, you do it. You do the right thing. Stand against yourselves. What Allah is meaning is stand against what the nafs commands you to do. At times the nafs can command you to do something which is against justice. And you say, no, I have to take this path. Because here, this is not so political theory. No. This is what we call the moral acts, the moral behavior of what we call standing for truth, even when it hurts your own interests, your ego. It hurts your nafs. You have other assumptions, your nafs is telling you this, and you're like, no, I have to be just here. You stand for it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Testing us. We move through trial. Our iman evolves, keeps on evolving with the more trials we experience in our lives. So, when you look at this, highlighting on the instance of Dawood alayhi salam, let me just bring this story of Dawood alayhi salam and what you call like the test of judgment. Like when you see Dawood alayhi salam, as you know, he was a prophet and he was a king at the same time. Whereby him being a king, he had a palace, yes? And in the palace, there was that incident of two men who were disputing over a sheep. Two men disputing over what? Over a sheep. So, when this incident occurred, the narration of this was like, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about this incident of which Prophet Dawood alayhi salam had to embark on. Like, for example, he was a king, as I told you, and a prophet at the same time. A leader in worldly terms and also a leader in the spiritual realm. So here, coming back to this, two men came to him with a case. Yes, because he's a king and he's the prophet at the same time. One had 99 sheep, whereas the other just had one. So what happened was that the first man had wronged the second one. Yes? So here, what did Dawood alayhi salam do? Dawood alayhi salam witnessed this case. And what he did, he instead judged swiftly. Yes? Instantly, just with divine wisdom, he just looked and said, no, he has wronged you. The question, who of the two men has wronged who? Who has been wronged and who is in the wrong? Now, the question they are asked, but what happened next? What was it? It's what we're all waiting for. What happened next? What happened that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gently reminded him, because here, this is what's called divine intervention. Because the Anbiya alayhi salam, they experienced what you call divine intervention when they were getting what? Wisdom. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded him, he said, "O Dawood, we have made you a successor upon earth. So judge between people in what? In truth." That was the thing. And it's in the Quran, in the 38th surah, ayah 26. We'll find that instance there. So what happened here was that upon this narration from the Quran, based in the Quran, is we get the reflections here of understanding that even a prophet, yes, even a prophet was reminded. Yes, he was reminded. He has divine news. He's aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord. He's aware of the afterlife. But him as a prophet, he was reminded. Yes, because at the end of the day, he's a human being. He was reminded of justice. That justice requires deliberation, not impulse. What do I mean by impulse? Not acting straight away. Yes, not acting according to your feelings and you just react. You burst out. No. So here, when you look at this, power is not the right to decide. It's the responsibility to first pause, reflect, and what to call, be accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, Dawood alayhi salam went through that. He paused when the case came to him. He reflected, and upon his reflection, he had to consider that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is accountable for my actions. Much though I'm a leader, I'm a king, at the same time I'm a prophet. Dawood alayhi salam placed that in mind. He had that in consideration. So when you look at this again, that how do we apply this concept of justice? Being just and being righteous, how do we apply it in our daily life? Like in the life we are living, you and I, that we're experiencing, especially in this current generation or in this current century of the 21st. What we have to learn here is that when you look at this, that justice begins in your smallest circles. Your smallest circles. What do I mean? Your family, your neighbor, your friends, your community. Yeah, as it keeps on expanding, as it keeps on going. Your home, first of all, how are you just to your mom, to your siblings, to your elders or your grandparents, to your friends? How are you just to your job, to your workmate? That's the thing. Like, for example, when you look at this, like a husband who listens before blaming is just. Husband doesn't just come and start ranting in front of the kids or in front of the wife. He asks, why was this happening? Why was this happening? What was the cause of this? Another thing is also a teacher. A teacher who marks fairly is what you call just. Yes? I myself have been working in that field of teaching. I've been marking. So you provide just. Because what happens is that at the end of the day, the student you are giving marks will be accounted for. Even a good employer has to pay on time. Paying on time shows just. Yes? So all these things, we practice them in our lives. So justice is not only in courts. It's a conversation. It's a conversation. It's a contract. Yes, and also it lies in the hearts. It starts from here. The qalb. How are you? Here, by matters of the heart. Do you have that element of justice in your heart? Because here, when you look at the moral standards, the moral behavior, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated in one of the hadith that the most beloved of people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are what you call those who are most beneficial to what? To others. Subhanallah. Imagine most beneficial to others, like a father being beneficial to his family. How? By showing justice. How are you beneficial? Among the key elements is just showing justice, showing your responsibility, giving what's due to the family. So here, that benefits a lot in the beginning when even you treat every person as if they are a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all know this. As a leader, be it in community level, be it at the national level, international level. So you have to show trust because you have to give what is due. You have to weigh and see, what am I required? What rights should I give to so and so? Yes? Because now here, when you look at this, there is also a side effect. There's another upside effect of having what you call emotional judgment. Now that's a downward spiral here when such things happen. whereby we find instances that in our generation, judges, faster than we think. We just come to conclusions fast without thinking twice. Someone just comes and accuses so and so for something without checking, cross-checking. This can happen on social media, in families, in communities. As we see things being rampant, people don't just go and check, make research, check up, follow up, nothing. They just come to conclusions from then. Because here the Quran says, وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا الْقُرْبَى. Yes? So here in Surah An'am, ayah 152, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you speak, be just, even if it concerns your kin. Yes? The one who you are related to, your guardian, can be your guardian. Yes, the closest of this. So, one thing I advise you guys, inshallah, is that we have to be people of adl. Yes, we have to practice justice in all our aspects of life, in our positions we carry in, starting from the family, society, national level, international level. We have to spread this character of justice. Yes, because we have to spread this thing. We should stop this thing of just spreading a story without verification. Verification has to be there. Don't just see a story and you rush to your conclusions. Biased information. What happens? Things turn the other way around, and people are being hurt by this. Another thing is not to take sides out of emotions. Don't react on your emotions, because you have to use the what? The mind, which Allah gave us. Because the mind is the first organ which even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created on Adam alayhi salam. Yes? The mind, the first organ. So it has a purpose. And the last of them is that don't punish without understanding. We should not punish someone without understanding. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.